Alright, the Turkish Rondo by Mozart. So this piece comes from his 11th Piano Sonata and is the third movement. The sonata was first published back in 1784, which is exactly 190 years before I was born. This is in a rondo form, and so a rondo is whenever you have a section that keeps repeating. So you might have an A section, which then goes to a B section, which then goes back to the A section, which then goes to a C section, and then back to the A section, and so on. There are different ways that it can go, but the point is that you have a section that keeps coming back over and over. So it begins with a pull off followed by a hammer on. Now to do this, I put all the fingers down except for my third finger on that third string. So they're all ready to go. So I go pinky, pull off, and then hammer on. So again. And I also try and keep my hand in a position, it's more like this as opposed to like this. It's easier for me to do those hammer-ons and pull-offs. So especially the pull-offs I find to be a little bit more difficult than the hammer-ons because you're actually pulling the string. So you've got this, then it goes to an A minor chord, and then you have another set of pull-offs and hammer-ons. And now when I do this one, my hand is more facing this way, whereas the first set I was more facing, I guess, this way, and now it's facing more this way. Back to the A minor chord. And then you have this. And then I'm going to go up to the fourth position. So slowly, that line goes like this. Alright, measure 5. So it's a half bar at 5, and I've got my pinky up here. Now usually I don't put the bar down until I actually use it. So if I start the measure before, you've got this. I play that, and then put the bar down. And then you stay in that 5th position. And then if you take a look at measure 6, we have kind of a bit of a stretch here. So 3, 5, and 7, plus that open 6 string. And I do try and keep that open 6 string staccato, so I'll go. So my thumb will pluck, and then immediately go down and hit that 6 string so it stops. So you've got this, and then you go to the 5th position, 1 and 3, and then down to the third position, and then back up to the fifth. So slowly it's, so again, and you're going to repeat that for the next two measures. And then if you take a look at measure 8, we've got this, and then it goes to the second fret, and then open. So I'll play measures 6 through 9 very slowly. You're going to go. All right, and that repeats. Then you're going to play measures 1 through 9 again. Then if you take a look at the second half of measure 9, we're going to do it in thirds. So we've got the first finger down, and then 1 and 3. And then I use my third finger as a guide finger to the 5th fret. So I've got, and as I'm doing that, I lay the bar down. I cover 5 of the 6 strings. So slowly. And then you have this, a set of pull-offs. You're going to be in the third position. So you have this. And again. After that, you go to a bar at 3. I keep my middle finger down here, and you're going to hit the 6th, the 3rd, and 2nd strings. And then my third finger here. So that little section beginning in the second half of 9, you've got this. Then it repeats. Now the difference is, if you take a look at measure 13, we're going to do this as opposed to as what we did in measure 11. All right, the second half of measure 13, we're going to start 1 and 2, go up to the 3rd fret. So you've got this. And then my first finger just acts as a guide finger to the 1st fret on the 2nd string. You've got. So again. All right, the second half of that measure, you're going to go. So 2 pull-offs, and I go 4 to 1. And I do try and keep that third finger down the whole time. So you've got, and then you have this. So it's just first finger there on the third string, second finger on the 2nd fret, 4th string. It's the full chord's an E major chord. We're just doing a partial of it. All right. So if I take a look at the second half of measure 13, you've got this. All right, then that repeats. All right, measure 17, the second half. You're just going to go back to what we did like in the beginning. And so on. If you take a look at measure 21, we have this. Instead of doing that like we did earlier, we're going to go. So these are all at the 8th fret. And then you go 5th fret. And you're going to go 6th string. Down to the 7th, and then I just take this down to the 2nd position, hit the 4th string, and then my first finger comes over to grab that 3rd fret on the 5th string. Follow by open, and then I go down to the 1st position. So slowly that little section is going to go. Measure 24. And I do a little trill. So I'm at the 4th fret on the 3rd string. Just 1 and 2 back and forth. And then down to the 2nd position. So slowly that measure goes like this. All right, then that repeats. You're going to go back to the second half of measure 9. Do that whole thing again. The second half of measure 25, we're going to do these octaves. So the octave form that I use throughout this is 1 and 3. So I've got my first finger at the 5th fret, third finger at the 7th fret. You're going to go 5th fret, 7th fret to the 9th fret. Now doing octaves like these, what I will do is I'll keep my first finger as I'm moving, but I will lift up my third finger as I move up because I'm trying to avoid that sound that you get on the bass strings. So as I'm moving up, I'm bringing this up, the third finger up just a little bit quickly to try to avoid that sound. So again, 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, open 5. Now you're going to repeat that, except you're going to also include the open 5th string. Now with my right hand I go thumb, index, ring finger. Alright, so we start there. We're going to go up to the 7th, measure 27, 9th, 7th, 5th, 4th. And then measure 28. I keep my first finger, it's going to act as a guide finger to the 2nd fret. I'm going to hit open 4 plus that 2nd fret, 3rd finger, and then my first finger goes up to the 5th, and then my middle finger grabs this note over here. So slowly it goes like this. And then down to the 4th position, open. So beginning measure 27, slowly it goes like this. Then that repeats. And so on. If you take a look at measure 31, we've got this. Now I'm going to go middle finger on that 7th fret, open 4, 3rd finger is right next door, down to the 4th, open, and then here. So again. And then you repeat that section before going on to the second half of measure 33. So second half of measure 33, we're going to be in the 7th position, 3rd finger's here, and I'm going to hammer onto my 4th finger, back to the 3rd finger, and to the 1st finger. So again. Alright, then we're going to move to a bar at the 9th fret, and I use my middle finger at the 10th fret. So hammer on, and then you just take this bar, move it down to the 7th fret. So I'm hitting the 4th string with my thumb there. So if you take a look at that measure slowly, it's going to go. Now I just move this bar down to the 6th. 1, 2, 4, 1. Now I'm just going to stay in this position. The 3rd finger is going to go here. And I use my pinky and I hammer on the 8th fret on that 3rd string. Followed by the 2nd string and the 3rd. So again. So slowly those two measures go like this. Alright, now we're going to go bar at the 4th, and my first finger is going to cover the bass note on the 4th string. And I've got my pinky here, so you've got. So pull off to the 3rd finger, back to that 4th finger, and then to the 1st string, which is being covered by the bar. So you've got this. Now we're going to move that up 3 frets and do the exact same thing. So again, you've got this. Measure 37, we're in the 7th position. So 3, 2, 3, 2, pull-offs. 3, 4, 3, 1. So alright, now it repeats somewhat with a little change at the end, but I'm going to play it in a different position. So instead of, I'm playing it down here now, but the exact same thing. So I've got my bar at 4. My thumb is hitting that 4th string. And then bar goes down to 2. And then I let go of the bar. And I go hammer onto 2, 4, open. Then I go to an A7 chord. Well, it's a shape is the A7. So you've got this. So 2 hammered on the 4, open first, followed by the 2nd. Alright, so slowly those two measures are going to go like this. Alright, then we have a bar at 4. I'm going to hit the 6th string and the 2nd string. Hammer onto 2, 4, 1. Now we're going to go 2 on the 3rd string, hammer onto 3, followed by the 2nd string, and then back to the 3rd string with just the 2nd finger. So you have this. So slowly that measure is going to go. And then just 1 and 3 as octaves. Hopefully your guitar is more in tune than mine. All right, so then that section repeats. And if you take a look at the second half of measure 41, we start open, 3rd fret, 2, pull off. So it's, all right, measure 42. So again, I'm adding the hammer-ons. We got on the 3rd string, 1, 3, and then 2nd fret, 3rd fret, open, hammer-on, 3, 4. So slowly. Measure 43. You're going to start in the 2nd position. Pinky will be the 5th fret. Open 2nd string, pull off to the 3rd finger. 2nd fret, open. And then we have pinky goes to that 3rd fret and then pull off. So slowly. All right, then measure 44 is the same as 42. Measure 45. I ended up here in measure 44. I just take my pinky and move it up 1 fret. And then we go to the 7th fret, like that. So. And then this is all a repeat. And if you take a look at measure 48, I start my fingers off like this. So it's an A chord, but I don't put this 1st finger down. I just go 2 and 3. And I'm hit the 5th string and the 2nd. Open 1st, 3rd string, 2nd string. And then I let go, and I'm going to do the open 4 and 2, and then I'm going to hammer on that 3rd fret on the 2nd string. And then 1 and 2, open. So slowly it goes. And then octaves. And if you take a look at the second half of measure 49, this is all a repeat of what we did earlier. And so on. So then if you take a look at measure 52, this is going to be in the 7th position, 3 pulls off to 2, repeat, 3 up to 4, 3, and then I go down to the 6th fret to pick that. So slowly it's going to go. All right, measure 54. After we've done this, we're going to go back to the 7th position, 4, 3, and then measure 55, 1, 4 on the next string, and then 9, 10. 1st string, back to the 2nd string. So again, slowly. Now one thing I do at the end of that measure, after I do this, is I just keep the 1 and 3 down. So I'm keeping this 3 down as long as I can. So slowly. So once I put that 3rd finger there, it stays for the rest of the measure. Measure 56, we have a bit of a stretch. You're going to be in the 5th position, open 5, hammer on to 7th, and then your pinky will go up to that 9th fret. And then your middle finger catches that. So you've got. In the second half of that measure, I do a bar at 4, and I've got my 3rd finger down on that 6th fret, and I hit the 5th string. So 3, 4, 3, 4, 1st string, back to the 2nd string with my 3rd finger down. So this finger I just keep down for that half of the measure. So slowly that measure is going to go. For this measure, my hand kind of switches positions. So in this, for the first half of it, my hand is sort of facing this way. And then when I go to here, my hand is more facing this way. You have to find those hand angles because it will help facilitate certain stretches. Measure 57, I do a bar at 2, and I hit the 6th string, the 3rd, and the 1st. Second half of measure 57, this is all a repeat, and so on. And if you take a look at the second half of measure 65, it goes back to the beginning. Repeats that whole section again. All right, so where it changes is the second half of measure 92. So we have this section again, but we're just going to play it a little differently. I use my thumb and middle. So you're doing octaves. And then you go up to the 9th fret, measure 93, open 5. Back to the 5th position. Up to that 9th fret, back to the 7th, 5th, 4th. So it measures 93 and 94. Slowly go like this. And then this is a repeat of the earlier section. And then we have this again. And this is a repeat of the earlier section as well. Then you repeat that section again. And then the second time through, you're going to take the second ending, which takes you to the coda. So a coda is a section of music that is often tacked on at the end. Coda means tail, and whenever I think of coda, I always think of Godzilla. Huge Godzilla fan. Big tail. Measure 101, which is the second ending. You have here. And then what I do is I form this D major chord. It's not actually a D major chord. Here's the D major chord, but it's the form of a D major, except we're at the 9th fret. And I'm going to hit the 3rd and the 1st string, and then the 1st string again. So this is a dotted 8th note going to a 16th. So it's a long, short, long, short, long, short. Now, if you take a look at measure 101, I'm keeping this chord here. Now I do strum it. You don't want that 4th string to ring. You don't want this. You don't want that sound in it. So there's a couple ways you can do it. What I do is with my 1st finger, I lay it against that string so it mutes the string. So when I strum it, you can't hear that. Another thing you can do is instead of strumming it, you can just hit it with your thumb and then your 3 fingers, or roll it. So you can go like this, or you can go like this. All right, measure 102. So after this, open 5, repeats. All right, measure 104. We're gonna be in the 7th position, hit the open 5th. I've got my pinky down at the 10th fret, pull off, hammer on. So again, that repeats. Now we're going to go half bar at 10, my middle finger here. And I try and just hit these 4 strings, but if I hit that 5th string, it's okay because it's in the chord. It's not going to sound terrible. All right, then we go back to this form right here, which is that D major shape. It's an A chord. And when I have this down, I put my pinky down as well on that 10th fret, and I'm going to hit the 5th string, and then with these 3 fingers, hit the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. I do a little pull off. So it's. Then we have this. So 7th position, middle finger, 3rd finger, and I'm going to hit the 6th string. Then I let go of this, and I go up to that 12th fret. So slowly that's going to go. And then we repeat. So this is all a repeat. Now we're going to do something very similar. We've got this A chord, that D form up here. Just one time. Now we're going to go to this chord, which we did earlier in measure 107. And we're going to do a similar thing with the little grace notes. My pinky will go down to that 9th fret, and I'll go. So again. And then I do this A chord. So I do a bar, I cover half the strings, and I have my 3rd finger on the 4th string and my middle finger on that 3rd string, and I have the open 5th. So you've got this. And then 9th fret, take off. Then I go up to the 12th fret, back to the 5th fret, 9th fret. So slowly those three measures go. All right, measure 117. We're going to be in this fifth. We're going to be in this fifth position. Open 5 plus the first string, and then I go up here, back to the 5th fret, and then I form that chord. And I might play this a couple different ways. I'll strum it a couple times, or I might strum and then stop it. Something like that. So those three measures are going to go. And I will also often use the flesh of my thumb, so it gives a kind of a darker sound, as opposed to if I'm using the nail. I hope you enjoy it, and good luck.